Okay, this is Bailey Vincent. That's how you say your last name, right?
Yeah.
Okay. She is one of my dear friends. I know I have a lot of dear friends, but from book club is how we met.
Yes.
But it's actually a super cool, trickle of how we actually met, though, is because my sister-in-law started the book club, and you went to high school with her.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's what's so fun is that, like, the most of our people in our book club are, like, from all kind of avenues of, like,
Yes. Yeah.
like
it's
some are from high school, some are from our neighborhood. Then, I mean, I guess Antonella has brought some people that worked with her.
Yeah.
But they haven't really stayed.
Yeah.
And then you guys had a few people. Anyway, I feel like we've had our set group now of, like, the ones who consistently come
like
every
the
time.
16, 12 to 16.
Yeah. But it's so fun. Oh, and then Elizabeth does Cassidy's nails. Yeah, nails. Like, that's what I'm like. It's just like a hodgepodge of people, and it is so fun. Yeah. And I'm actually devastated about Mackenzie.
I know, I'm so sad. When she said that, I was like,
I know. I'm like, I feel like I need her on the podcast before she moves.
Oh my gosh. Get her in.
She would be so fun.
She is so funny.
Yeah. She's
so funny.
Hilarious. Like, so fun. So, anyway, so this is Bailey. She is, well, you're just like one of my favorite people anyway. Like, we always have really good conversations. And now I do your mom's hair. Yeah. Which was also kind of random. And she knows, like, everyone that I know as well. Yeah. And she just, I'll have to do them actually as one of my, like, favorite things at some point, but Forge Jewelry.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Sean is, like, one of our dear friends. Yes. From, like, forever and ever ago. Like, my wedding ring is
I remember you telling me about that. Yes. And I was like, wait, what? I know. Because my mom's way closer to Rochelle.
And it was so crazy because I was doing your mom's hair, like, a couple weeks ago. And I said, what projects are you working on? Her mom's, like, an interior designer. She's super talented. Yes. And she was like, oh, just this jewelry shop. And I was like, wait, which jewelry shop? Because there's not very many jewelry shops that are, like, literally changing locations and needing, like, a whole new look. Yep. So anyway, and then she said that it was Forge, and anyway, they're the best. They're so talented, and that they have, like, what is it called? That's like, not a goldsmith, maybe? Is that what it's called? They have, like, their own, like in-house.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, I think
that's what they do in the shop.
Yes. And he is, like, it's like his whole life, this guy who does it. Like, he's super talented.
They're so awesome, so great to, like, work with too. Yeah. Easy, smooth process. Oh,
and I feel like I don't know, they just, like, get it, maybe is the right word, like, because they specialize in custom. But I love vintage stuff. Yeah. You can kind of see, I know I talked about it in a few of the episodes, but I have been obsessed. One of my clients and friends, Rachel, she had from her grandparents their class rings, like, from high school and college. Izzy, stop. She's acting like she's never gotten attention in her life. Okay, anyway, and so I saw it and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm obsessed. Like, it is a beautiful, beautiful ring. And so anyway, I looked on Etsy and sent it to my husband. And I was like, hey, just for, in case, or, like, future whatever. And so he bought me one for Mother's Day, and I took it to Sean, because I swear back then the girls' fingers were literally itty bitty. Like, they were so tiny. I could, like, barely put it on my pinky. Yeah. Anyway, and so he just resized it for me. So I literally just saw him, like, this summer.
Gosh, that's so cool.
It was awesome. I'm gonna have to, like, do a little picture on that too, because
that's cool.
Amazing. It says 1946 on it. Really it's cool. So cool. I wish I could see, like, the engraving a little bit better to see, like, what school, like, to be able to, like, look it up. I did actually try to, like, take a picture of it and do, like, the reverse thing, but all it kept bringing up was, like, the Etsy.
Oh, and, like, the ad. And it didn't say anything in that ad?
Mm-hmm.
Like, she didn't have any information?
No, because I think she just found it, like, at an estate sale.
Yeah.
Because that's where, like, most of those come from. Yeah. But yeah, so, in fact, I want to have this friend of mine on, Rachel, who's, like I said, a friend and client, but she loves, like, all that kind of stuff, and she has a lot of her grandparents stuff like that. It's just so many cool stories and so many things, and I'm like, I would never even think about that. But, like, my grandparents, I'm sure they have those. They just were passed on to other people, right? Like aunts and uncles and stuff like that. So anyway, but that's how I know Bailey. And okay, but tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, I mean, whatever you want, but I love kind of how we were just talking right before, but, like, okay, so you graduated high school, you're local to Utah County. Yes. You went to school where? Like, tell me kind of all of that. Oh, and we both have husbands named Aaron.
Yeah, we do. It's great. So I graduated here, and then I went out to Southern Virginia University.
Oh, Southern Virginia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I went out to Southern Virginia University, went all the way out there, and did a semester out there, ended up going on a mission.
Okay.
Did my
tell where you went on your mission.
Yeah, I went on my mission to Croatia.
You guys.
It was so fun. It was awesome.
Wild.
Yeah, so it's the Adriatic North mission. It's like 5 countries, but I served in Croatia and Serbia. And then I came home and I tried a semester at BYU, tried to do the, like, I'll stay in Utah.
Okay.
Because I've been away from my family for so long. And I just, like, missed. Couldn't do it. I missed SVU so much.
Do you love the East Coast?
Oh my
gosh.
Why? I, like, fell in love with it, to be honest. I honestly always thought, like, I would always tell my mom, I'm like, I'm going to marry someone from the East Coast, and that's where we're going to end up being.
Yes,
just like,
and your mom was like, no.
Yeah, exactly. She was just like, what are you talking about? She's like, this is terrible. So I went back out there, and then that's when the semester that I decided to go back out, I actually met my husband.
Okay, and so, where is he from?
He's from St. Louis, Missouri. So, which is so funny, because my mom's from Missouri.
Oh, yes, and that's right. Yes.
I mean, she's from the opposite side of the state.
Hers is like
Kansas City, yeah.
Right? Okay.
But still, when my whole family found out I was married from Missouri, they were like, oh my gosh, yes, this is the best thing ever. And I'm like, it wasn't like...
It wasn't planned.
Yeah.
It wasn't planned, but it just happened.
So, yeah, he's like a country boy, and he was out at SVU too, and we met at the solar eclipse, actually. So,
really?
Yeah. Well, we had, like, met each other in Crossing beforehand. In fact, he was the kid who the semester before annoyed me because he was always talking in the library. And I'm like, you don't come to the library to talk.
Yes.
Like,
we are supposed to be quiet.
Yeah, I'm like, I was the super studious, and he was like the goof off with his friends in the library.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
And he was dating someone else, and anyway, so I didn't really ever pay attention to it. Like, I knew who he was. And I think I barely knew his name.
Because it's a fairly small campus, right? Like,
I've
had a few
1,000
clients,
students.
I was going to say, I've had a few clients, like, their kids have gone out there to play sports.
Yeah.
Like, lacrosse, volleyball, anyway, a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what I've heard is, like,
that's
it really
basically
is like
what you
a high school. Like, everyone kind of knows
You basically
everything.
go out there to play sports. Like, that's, or do music. Like, those are kind of, like, the 2 things people focus on when they go.
Okay.
Yeah. It's really big in the arts.
Like,
and
what kind
music.
of music programs?
Like, they have a really good theater program and, instruments and singing and, they have a really good arts program, and you can get scholarships for both. Yeah. And so it's like, people are like, oh, if I can get an arts scholarship, then I'll go out there.
Well, because my Dylan, who's a sophomore, he really wants to do music.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he would love to, like, be up on stage and, like, performing, but, you know, like, in front of a huge crowd. But but I also am like, so you need to have a degree. We have to have something to fall back on. Like, I wholeheartedly believe in you, but also, like, it's a very tough world, and you need to have, like, something in your back pocket to, like, still be able to work and, like, make money and stuff. So
they're actually, like, huge on that because they're a liberal arts college. So they like, you have to do, like, every student's required to do art classes, like some sort of art, whether it's theater or singing or choir, you know, whatever, orchestra. So anyway, kind of knew him like that. And you know everyone on campus, but I didn't even really know his name. Yeah. Anyway, solar eclipse came around. I went back out to school, and he came up to me and he talked to me, and he was on crutches, and I was in my golf uniform.
Yes.
And he talked to me and he's like, "Oh, you play golf?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm on the golf team here." And he kind of struck up this conversation, and I went home to my roommates, and I'm like, I like just talked to Aaron for a really long time, and it's kind of a bummer he's not single because he's really cute.
Okay.
And they were like, no, like that was the scandal of the summer. Him and his girlfriend broke up. I'm like, oh well, that scandal went right over my head.
I heard word on the street.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, are you guys positive about that? And they're like,
because I'm gonna swoop in.
I know. They're like, we're pretty sure. And then the next week he asked me on a date.
So was she from there, or she was just going to school?
She was just going to school there. Yeah,
okay,
she was going to school there too.
Again, it was such a small campus.
Yeah. Everyone knew. Everyone knew. Except for me, I guess, because I was at BYU the semester before, so I didn't really care what was going on at SVU because I was planning on staying at BYU.
Totally.
In fact, like, I was totally dating someone else, thinking that I was going to move forward, like, in a relationship with them. Yeah. Broke it off to go back out to SVU.
Oh my gosh.
And then I met Aaron.
Those are the best stories.
I know, it was. And it just, like, happened, and There's like obviously a whole long story to it, but we kind of started dating that semester, got engaged the second semester, got married that summer. Yeah. Wow. And then we graduated in 2019 and he wanted to go to law school.
Wait, so you guys were both, like, you both graduated with your bachelor's at the same time?
Yeah, because I actually finished in 3 years. So I
I was expedited. Like, how did you get it to where you guys happened to graduate?
I expedited.
Okay, that's amazing.
And so I expedited and I just took 19 credits a semester. Okay. And then did one summer semester. Okay, cool. So that I could be done in 3 years. Yeah. We both finished at the same time. He really wanted to go to law school, so he wanted to take a gap to get to get permanent residency in whatever state he wanted to
go to law school.
So it's cheaper, which he decided he wanted to go to Arizona State. Okay. And so we moved all the way out to Arizona and found out like a week before we left we were pregnant.
Oh my gosh.
That was like, what? We have no money. We have no real jobs. We are moving across the country from Virginia.
Our heads are falling off.
We're about to literally drive across country in separate cars.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm pregnant. And we're moving to Arizona. Aaron ended up taking a teaching job as a biology teacher.
Oh.
Yeah. And that's kind of, anyway. So we went out there, long story short, and he decided like 4 months in, he was like, I hate law. I'm like,
oh my god.
Well, if you hate law, let's not. Let's just stop now.
Totally.
And so he started like going back to his roots and figuring out what he wanted to do and what he was most passionate about. And he's like, I've always been passionate about the medical field, but I just have like always kind of steered away from it because he's like, I didn't want to do like the whole
doctor.
Yes, 10 years. And he was like,
medical school. Well, my friend Lauren that I just had on a couple weeks ago, she wants to be a medical examiner. Like, she's a junior right now in college and she still has 12 more years.
Yeah. And he's just like, it's just a long time.
It's amazing the people that can do it.
Yes. And so he was like, but I've actually really been looking into the nurse practitioner.
Oh, yes.
Route.
Yeah.
And so he decided to switch. He found a school in Utah, Joyce University, that does the 20-month program to get your master's of nursing.
Okay.
And the next thing we knew is it was COVID. We had my baby. And then the week after we had Brooks, COVID hit and the whole country shut down. So we had a normal birth. Everything was totally fine. The week later, the country shut down.
You're like, oh, that's kind of nice.
Yeah. And Aaron was like, well, I guess I'm officially like on leave. Like he's a teacher. So he just had to teach online. And I was like, heck, if you're just teaching online and I can't go into office and I'm on maternity leave anyways, let's just move to Utah now and get settled.
Oh, so we didn't even move back until then.
No. So then we
where you did.
Yeah. So then we just packed up and we moved in.
Oh my gosh.
Back to Utah. And then we've been here since 2020. Yeah. And
oh my gosh.
He's finished up and now he's working as a nurse for doTERRA.
Okay.
And loves it and is doing awesome there.
And so is he going to continue and do his nurse practitioner?
Yeah. Okay. So he's finishing all that up and then his hope is to actually be a nurse practitioner on their on-site clinic.
Oh, yes.
Because they have the clinic on site. But he's really happy right now because he does all of their adverse events and it kind of goes over my head, all the medical terminology and everything. I'm like,
I'm like, that's so cool. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah. So he's all this like insane knowledge about the oils and like what it can do to your body and what you should and shouldn't do. So he's like also whenever I'm like, hey, come here kids, let's put on oils because you're feeling this way. He's like, be careful. Don't like.
That's what I'm like, I don't know why I didn't think about that. I'm like, we really should like talk about that. I know nothing about oils. My mom does a little bit. My sister knows a ton. My brother actually works at doTERRA as well. But
really?
But he's in more like, well, I don't even know 100%. I want to say he's more on like the technology side of it.
Oh yeah,
like the computer.
Yeah,
I don't know, something. Like I've been to the campus and had lunch with him before.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah. Well, crazy enough, my mom is like a wellness advocate. When I was growing up.
Like so she's done it for a long time.
Since like the beginning, basically. Since started. But she did it not as like a business. Yeah. She did it like, I want to sign up for this for my family.
Yes.
And so she never really like, when we were growing up, we would get oils, and I know that she would like get them and help them with family or different things. And so we used to jokingly call her the witch doctor all the time. We're like, oh, you're such a witch doctor. And we'd be like, oh, we have a headache. And she'd be like, do this. And we're like, oh, witch doctor. You're crazy. But then we all took them on our missions. Yeah. All of us. Yeah. Like we all got to the point where, and we just like knew things worked. Like, oh, you have a headache? Peppermint. Like, oh, you have this, like your tummy hurts, like digest it. And like, we just like had these things that we knew. And it was reliable.
Honestly would probably be really comforting on a mission when you're in a foreign country and you're like, this is just a little bit of home.
Yeah. Like ones that help you sleep and just all these different things. And so my mom did it all growing up. And when I married Aaron, his family, his mom's a nurse. So when I had like my oils, he was like, you're a witch doctor. Like he thought I was like, and it's really funny how the roles have changed and like he's like this expert now.
He's the witch doctor now.
Yeah, and I'm like, you sound a little crazy over there with your like.
So it's so funny because I do think it's like kind of a Utah thing too. But but my parents have used like silver.
Oh yeah.
Like my whole life. Your whole life, like put it in your ears, rub it on your arm, like take a drink of it, and. Kind of the same. We always joke with my parents, like, oh, silver will fix that,
Someone go grab the silver.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so funny to joke. I don't really use anything anymore. I think the only thing I do, well, actually, doTERRA wise, because since we brought it up, we swear by Deep Blue. Oh my gosh, that for sure. Yes. And what was it was the freaking roll-on stick.
The roller's amazing. Amazing. Like, right?
Yes.
So great.
Like so great. That's because it gets on your hands and it's gross. And I feel like, at least for me too, if I would put it on, I have to wash my hands like seven times if I take my contacts out or whatever the case may be. And so that roller.
But it works so much better than Icy Hot. I don't know what. Like this stuff is like 20 times better.
Yeah. When I had done, what did I do? I did something. I think I judged a pageant or something.
Okay.
And they had given us like a basket full of stuff, and it had like the sample packs of the Deep Blue. And my husband takes that with him on the airplane because he travels all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is.
We used to give them as like gifts to friends, like when I was in college, like all our athlete friends. My mom would just make little Deep Blues.
No, that's like such a great idea because that was my thought. I'm like, I want to be able to send this with my kids for different like camps and stuff because in fact right now I'm like, we don't even know where our roller is because it's probably in someone's bag somewhere, but like we don't even know where it is.
Oh yeah, I keep one in my dresser right by my bed.
Okay, like, so we need to talk about that. I need to get another one because I'm like, we have the squeeze bottle as well, but I'm like, it's
the rollers are
the rollers. Like, it literally is life-changing.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I should put that as my favorite thing. I know. Okay. So I love that. Okay, and then you're to hear, Bailey's pregnant, you guys. This is why I really kind of forced her to come on the podcast. Because I was like, please come before you have a baby. I actually have multiple people that are, like, having babies right now. That
really?
Yes, I know. That's awesome. I don't think you knew her. I don't think maybe she did go to... her maiden name is Chesler. Her name was Nicole Chesler.
Why does that sound familiar?
I know. Like, I can't remember. She was a dancer.
Unless maybe you've just.
I can't remember if she went. Yeah, I can't remember if she went to American Borg. I'm gonna have to ask her. Anyway, but she's having a baby as well, and she does more like homesteading type stuff, but is super into. Like. Natural antibiotics and like all that kind of stuff.
Well, it's kind of crazy because, not that obviously my mom did it growing up. We teased her, but then we all kind of gained our own, I guess you could say, like testimonial of it in a way. Like we all had our own experience where something happened and we were like, wow, that did work.
And it worked,
And so then we were more open to using it more, but I never really saw myself being the mom that was like, oh,
here's this.
But honestly, like in our kids' bathroom, our kids know, like, oh, my ear hurts. Like, can you put Purify in it so I don't get an ear infection?
Yeah.
Like last night, Silas is like, Mommy, my tummy hurts. Can I have Tamer? And like, no, like my kids are 2 and 4.
Yeah.
And they know
they already know
what helps them. Sure. And it's just like been really, I don't even know how to say it, but kind of comforting in a way. That I don't always have to turn to ibuprofen and Tylenol for them. Because that's basically all kids can have when they're so young. Like, you can't, even the stuff you get for colds, it's all homeopathic. Like, it's just elderberry because they can't have any
and honey
real cough syrup.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm like, well, if I can find my own stuff that works, like the breathe sticks and just different things like that.
I did do those when my kids were little.
Yeah. Or I'm like diffusing different things to help them sleep at night. And like my youngest is really having a hard time. I think he's going through night terrors.
Oh. My Milo did that, and they tell you, like, don't wake them up.
Yes.
Like, just comfort them, and because they cannot figure out, like, they're basically stuck in the middle of reality and a dream.
And if you wake them up, it can make it worse for their body. Like, yeah. So luckily, like, I knew that because I had a roommate who had night terrors, and it
even
was
in college.
Oh my gosh, it was crazy bad.
Oh my gosh.
Like crazy bad. Like, we'd have to go in and turn on like hymns and then like pat her back and just be like, Megan, you're safe. Like, she would wake up screaming, like didn't know where she was. She would sleepwalk. It was like,
but had she had like trauma?
I don't know. She only lived with me for a semester, and there was technically 3 bedrooms.
Okay.
And so she wasn't in my room, but every once in a while when we were out in the living room just watching a movie, like, we could hear Megan freaking out. And
oh my gosh,
so I learned from that.
Yeah.
And so my husband had no idea, because Silas has been like doing this thing where he wakes up like ballistically crying. Mm-hmm. But you go to talk to him and you're like, Silas, and he's out.
Yeah.
So I'm like, honey, I think he's having
night
terrors.
Totally.
And Aaron's first reaction was like, Silas, like, wake up, honey.
Like, I'm here. Don't wake up.
Stop what you're doing.
It really makes it so much worse.
So I like go and I'll just get the lavender and I'll tell Aaron, I'm like, you scratch his back and turn on Paul Cardell. Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna like put the lavender like under his nose so he can kind of start to breathe it in.
Yeah.
And hopefully it will help him like relax. And it's been really helpful. Okay. But it's just kind of crazy that you don't have, like, kids can't take anything.
Well, this is
so
the
it's
thing.
like
so because it's just like your mom. Like, I'm not really into oils.
Yeah.
I think it's because the experiences I've had that have like kind of swayed me.
Mm-hmm.
The people that it's been like, you're nuts.
Yeah.
Like,
over the top.
So much. Yeah, over the top. That's a great way to do it. And so I'm like, it's not that I don't think that they can work, because obviously things work for a million years before. I do also believe that God made modern medicine for 100%, a reason, right? 100%. And doctors and things like that, because there's stuff that we needed to know. But yes, there was for years and years and years that they used stuff. Yeah. So I 100% believe in that. I think it's more, the over the top people that I've like been in contact with that I'm just like, you're too much. Where you like, some people are like, I can't even sit by you because you are fuming with like 55 different oils. Yes. Like, there's a woman at the gym that I would go to yoga. I can't even sit by her because it is so potent that I'm like, bleh. Like, it just was like too much.
Yeah. Well, and that's like my favorite part. Not my favorite part about Aaron. I love a lot of things about Aaron. But since he has this master's of nursing, he's learned all of this stuff about modern medicine and the importance of it. And like, but he also like is willing to be like, well, maybe for our kids, like, let's try this first, and if it doesn't work, like, let's do both. Let's give them some ibuprofen and some tamer, and recognizes, like, he always tells me, he's like, there's moderation in all things. Like,
100%.
He's like, I just think there's people. He gets really annoyed with people who are like, no, it's only Eastern medicine, or it's only Western medicine, or it's only oils, and he's like, can we just all agree, like, acupuncture can be great, like. There's medication that you are going to need to save your life if you have a certain disease or illness, and he's like, and then can we also understand that, like, you can benefit from the things of the earth, like the oils and the natural plants, and
totally. And look at the Indians,
yes,
like,
100%.
I mean, they had what did they call them? They didn't call them witch doctors. What were their chiefs? Like, medicine man.
Yes, medicine man. Yeah.
That they. Oh my gosh, like, crushed up all sorts of stuff. And because you had to live off the earth at that point. Like, there just wasn't options for anything else.
Which I'm very much kind of like you, where it's like, okay, let's not like regress and forget about all of the education and ways that we've grown as a society to get, the modern technologies in the healthcare system that we have. Yes. But also, let's not disregard the things that got us to where we're at now.
100%. And I love these. Because I feel like, especially now, say like with having babies and all of this stuff, there's so much more that we know now and can catch. And I think babies probably died a lot, hundreds of years ago or whatever. I mean, think about even just like pioneers or anyone around that time, even like those who settled the United States. Because they just didn't know. I mean, you talk about like preeclampsia. That's just high blood pressure. But if you didn't know if you had that and you had preeclampsia, like, I don't know, there's just like so many scary things that now I'm like, I agree with you. Let's not forget where we came from, but let's also recognize like the progress that we made in modern medicine.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. No, I agree with that. And it's so funny because I feel like there's a lot of things like where, and I don't know if it was ever even specifically told to me, but I feel like I remember like growing up kind of thinking chiropractors were quacks. Right? That it was like
that a lot of people have that like
chiropractors are nuts. But my husband was like, oh no, like I totally believe in them, blah blah blah. And we take our kids like probably once to the chiropractor because of the sports that they play. Yeah. My boys play football where they're constantly needing to like, I don't know, like ribs out of place and like, you know,
well, it can help with so much. Like I was telling Aaron the other day, wow, it sounds like Silas struggles from so much. But he's been having, like, he's in potty training right now.
Oh, yeah.
And so he struggles with bowel movement. Yeah. And my friend was like, I took my son to a chiropractor and it totally changed, like, the way he was able to use the toilet. Because it trained, like, he had trained his muscles and his, like, body to almost tense up to a point where they couldn't relax and then they build up. Yeah. And then the chiropractor helped release that.
Which is insane that you can do that.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Or they say colicky babies. Like there's ones who can help with like and I'm like, these things we just have to recognize and understand that like there are great things in all areas.
In all areas.
And you don't need to be obsessive over one.
Yes. And I think that's probably like the first time I ever went was when I was pregnant. Because I had sciatica so bad.
Oh, yeah, same.
And like nothing helped. Like I couldn't sit and this was my first pregnancy and then even it got worse even with the twins after that. So that I feel like was like my first like, okay, chiropractors are not quacks. They do know what they're doing. This is a real thing. Yeah. Now I'm like, how do we get a chiropractor in the family?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
What of my nephews or my own kids can we like? Let's get you to chiropractor school. We really need someone in the family. Like, it's I know it's so funny. Awesome. But yeah, I don't know. I do believe in some. I think some it's like a little bit harder, but but yeah, I do the tension stuff for like the headaches. Like I've used all that kind of stuff on my kids because I'm like I don't want to just be giving them ibuprofen and Tylenol. And I mean, my kids are they're bigger now, so I do feel like weight wise and stuff. I'm like, okay, now I feel confident giving you that. Yeah. But like before I didn't, you know, because a lot of that I'm like, you're just too small. Your body can't handle that until like. Have to filter it through their kidneys and all that.
It's crazy.
Is that how it filters
Absolutely.
through? And I was like, I don't know.
Your liver and your kidneys, right?
Yeah, like liver, kidneys, whatever. It's fine. It's fine. Okay, then on that note, though, a little quick life update. Speaking of football, my Milo broke his collarbone over the weekend.
He broke his collarbone.
Yes, I know. So
at practice or
at a game?
In a game.
So it was kickoff return. He went to like tackle the guy on the other team who had the ball, and two guys from the other team actually hit him in the back, which is against the rule. Anyway, like two of them, because like I watched it happen and I was like, that's illegal, but like nobody else had really seen it. So we like went back on Huddle. I don't know if you've ever heard of Huddle.
Oh,
anyway,
of course.
And so you can go back and like look at anyway. So I like pulled up the play later and like that night, and I was like, I thought it was just one kid, and it was two kids. So they essentially, because he didn't see him coming, they pushed him from the back, and he fell straight forward, didn't have time to catch himself, so he just landed right on his shoulder, even with pads. So. I know. So, and it's a really like small break. It's not bad at all. Like no surgery, nothing like that. It's very, very fine. But but he's out for 6 weeks now. So he's out for literally the rest of the season. I know. And that's like basketball tryouts are coming up, like so many things. And I'm like, gosh dang it. Like that really freaking sucks. Like I had to literally put his socks on this morning. My husband put his socks on for him yesterday.
And he's like,
no.
Yes,
I know.
That's the worst.
Yes. So
that is the worst.
I know. Okay. That's I've literally said this in every single podcast, but I could talk to everyone forever. Yeah. So, okay. I'm going to jump in really fast to do my favorite things because I am actually really excited about them this week. Because I didn't podcast last week at all. And so I feel like I like really had more time to like think about them.
Like, yes. These are my favorite.
Yeah, these are like for real's my favorite. Yeah, no, all good things. But yes, because this is the thing. My sister even said it in the podcast a couple weeks ago, but she's like, how can you come up with 5 things every single week? I'm like, that is not like, you have to look at what you use every single day.
Yeah.
And besides that, I just got an invitation to a favorite things party here at the end of the month. I know, and I'm like,
I'm ready for it.
I have so many things. Yes. And I know some of my friends listen, so I'm not going to say what it is, but I'll tell you what it is after.
Okay, and
you will be excited about it. It's a book. That's right.
Oh, okay, yes, awesome.
I know. Okay, so my first thing is my Babyliss curling iron. It's the one that's silver and blue.
Okay.
So I don't know if you've ever used it. I love it so much. I feel like it gives like just that perfect, like not too tight, not too loose.
Yeah.
But like tight enough where it lasts multiple days.
Yeah.
And I know that's like not on everyone's hair, but I use it on my daughter's hair. I use it on my hair. And I think it's a 1 1/4 inch. So it's, again, not huge, but like enough to, I mean, you've seen my hair waved and I've been on the podcast with it. So it's a fantastic curling iron. I've had it for, I mean, probably like 4 or 5 years already. And it's still going strong.
You don't laugh at me. I don't know how to use a curling iron. I only curl my hair with a flat iron. That's the only way that I've ever done it.
Okay, yeah.
And so like I curl my hair.
See your hair.
Yeah, I curl my hair all the time. But if someone were to be like, "Here's a curling iron,"
you'd be like, no.
I'd probably burn my hand a million times before I figured out the proper way to like actually use the curling iron or like a wand. Like that was big when I was in high school.
I can't do a wand. So that
lots
totally
of
makes
people
sense to me.
did all that stuff. And I like genuinely. You put it in my hand and I'm like, how do you hold it? Because I'm like, this is not a flat iron.
You look in the mirror and you're like,
yes.
What the heck?
Yes.
Yeah. Totally,
yes.
Totally.
And I've like seen people do it to my hair, like when I go get my hair done or like when people did my hair for my wedding or whatever. I'm like, really trying to focus. How are you doing that? But I can't.
So it's funny because I feel like I could not figure out this one like style of curling until there was a guy that I follow. He cuts hair. He's amazing. His name is Dominic or something, but his Instagram handle is Dom Hair. Anyway,
and he really long hair. Luscious?
No, not at all. Nope. It's really short, like tight, but he does phenomenal. Like next time I like cut my hair all the way off, I would love to fly out and see him. He's in LA.
Yeah, that'd be so fun.
But so everyone kept asking like, how do you curl? How do you curl? Because he does it so well. He literally put on a blonde wig and like showed how to do it. Like yourself, like how you do this. And I was like, that made all the difference because then I could see how he was holding his hands.
Oh, for sure.
And so, oh my gosh, I was chuckling. It was so funny. Awesome. I was like, but I sent that video that he made to probably 30 plus people.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that makes me feel better because I'm like, I don't know.
Oh, no, there's a ton.
This styling tool.
And too, like, because a lot of people are like, I just can never curl it like you do, like when I'm doing their hair. But I'm like, it's because I'm at a totally different angle. I'm standing above you.
Yeah.
I'm rolling it this way. I don't know, like, I know you roll up the curls both backwards, like on each side, but it's just different when I'm standing above you.
Hand holding it, and everything is so different. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So anyway, it's a phenomenal, it's a phenomenal curling iron. It's one I would 100% recommend. I love hot tools, anything as well.
Yeah.
But this Babyliss one is for sure like one of my favorites. Okay, and then this one I just got. It's a brow gel. So I have said forever that I love, because I know we were talking before that you don't really do like a lot of makeup, but you have great brows. Do you fill them in?
I do a little bit of powder in the corners.
Okay.
But that's about it.
So and I have to fully fill mine in. Like I have no hair anymore. But
they look so good, so you wouldn't know that.
Yeah, but I legit have to I
stop
half the brows. Have you not seen my get ready video? Oh, you'll die. You'll die. I literally have no brows.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, but you know how like when you signed up for Sephora and you get like your birthday gift, you could choose. And it was from this brand. I don't even know how to say it, so I'm probably gonna slaughter it, but it's KOSAS. Kosas? I don't know. Kosas something. Anyway, and in my little thing was a brow gel. And so I've sworn by the Anastasia one for years, and I still love that one, but this one for sure rivals it.
Really?
Rivals it. And so it's literally just like a sample, but I already bought a new one to come for when that sample one's out. But I feel like because it's clear, first of all, and I feel like it's a good thickness, but it's not too
sticky.
Yeah, or crunchy even.
Crunchy.
It doesn't look.
Doesn't dry
Yes. It's there, you don't want to obviously rub your brow, but it's enough to keep them in place without not, and so the reason a lot that I like kind of do it to, like set my brows is because I feel like I do have to put so much powder in there.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's like if I moved it at all, it would just like rub off. But this at least I'm like, okay, I can like get a little scratch. Yeah. And I'm not gonna lose a brow. There's definitely times where I'm like
not
really
bald.
Yes, I feel like I'm really sweaty and I'm like, oh my gosh, my brows are gonna start dripping off any minute now. Because it's like dripping down my forehead. I'm like, okay, it'll be fine. Okay, and this is one. So I think I talked a couple weeks ago. Well, let's see. It had been one of the first podcasts when I talked about Cozy Earth.
Oh yeah, you did.
I'm obsessed with Cozy Earth.
Yes.
Okay, so I talked about my husband loves the lists, like the Christmas list.
Oh yes.
Oprah's favorite things, or like he'll be like, this was on the top 10 Vogue or whatever. Which I love that about him because he does listen to the podcast, but he always goes to these lists, and I've gotten some really phenomenal things. So this is something that is like, it's totally like not cheap, meaning like it's chintzy, but it's cheap as in, I think it's only like 15 or 20 bucks. But it is a Apple Watch charger.
Okay,
so you take it out. I actually like should have brought it downstairs to show it. But you slide it inside of it. It looks like a little square, but what it looks like is a vintage Mac computer. And so when you slide your watch in the front of it, it looks like the screen of the computer.
Oh my gosh, are you serious? Like that's just a mini one? That's awesome.
So it looks like it has a little indentation where like the floppy, or not the floppy disk, the hard disk would have gone in. Probably the ones that, like, I mean, it's for sure the ones that I used in elementary school, so they probably would have been upgraded by the time you were that age. But literally like, so a square. Oh, and it has like the little drive thing there. Yeah. And so when you slide your watch in, it looks like it is the cutest thing I've ever seen. And I've actually gifted it for multiple other things as well. But like, I opened it and I was dying. I was like, this is the cutest thing I've ever seen. But I swear by it because it just sits on your, like it looks a part of your dresser. Yeah. Like I have it on some cute little coasters. And anyway, it just like fits so perfect. Yeah. It's so cute. It's like kind of cheeky, but like without being like, oh, that's kind of lame, but also not looking like you have a tech situation. Yeah. Because I'm like, I also don't want my dresser to look like I've got a billion different cords and all that weird stuff on there. Yeah. It just makes it like, I don't know, disguises it a little bit. Yeah. Anyway, so wait till I like send the pictures.
That is awesome.
And the link to it. It's so freaking cute.
Oh, I'm excited.
But I feel like too, it's like a good like husband gift too. Yeah. Because same, like they like love those vintage looking like Mac computers. Yeah. And there's like a few different ones. So do you remember the Mac computers that had like the color on the back?
Oh yeah.
Like it kind of looked a little bit clear.
Yeah.
They have one like that too.
Really?
Yes. And I don't know if it like lights up the back or like if it does anything, but there's like a couple different options.
That's kind of fun.
I know. I love it. It's so cute. So anyway, so that one too. Okay, here's another one. Again, because I know that you like don't wear a ton of makeup, but have you heard of that brand Merit?
Yes.
Okay, yes. So it was like all over Instagram, and I feel like a ton of people were doing it. And so I had ordered it online, but I didn't realize they sell it at Sephora now.
Oh, they do?
I know.
I've seen it on Instagram too, like all over.
So I like was at Sephora, I want to say during Christmas, like looking for cologne and stuff for my husband. And I saw it and I was like, oh my gosh. So they have a cream blush. I've shown it like in my get ready videos, but it literally looks like a pot. But the top of it is rounded, like the actual like blush pot is rounded.
Yeah, I think
So you literally just screw off the top. Oh, it looks like one of those EOS lip thingies.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
yes,
That's what I'm envisioning. Yeah.
Yep. Then that's so I literally like put it on my cheeks and then I put it on my lips.
Oh, because
that's amazing. Use it for both. I know.
That's amazing. Phenomenal. That's like up my alley.
Yes, that's what I was saying that. That's what I was thinking about. I'm like, you would actually love that. Yeah. Love that. So yeah, in fact, I don't do a lot of hair and makeup anymore. I really only do it for like a select few people, like longtime clients or like family or whatever. But I did one this summer and used it on her, and it ended up being the color that she used for her lips as well for her entire wedding pictures, wedding day. So her mom just went and got like her own, but the color I use is called Cheeky, but one of my really good friends, Tierney, the one that does like the fashion stuff, she uses a different kind of brighter one. Yeah. Anyway, all of their colors that I've seen have been beautiful.
Yeah, that sounds nice.
Like, and it's soft. I don't feel like it leaves, like it doesn't taste gross. Yeah. Like, I don't know, like I feel like it's good.
Yeah. So. And I like a little match. Like, that's sometimes the hardest part. Is like, I won't put on lip stuff because I'm like, if I'm wearing blush,
it feels like it counteracts.
Yes. Yes. And then I'm like, it feels like now this just looks like my cheeks are red instead of like colored, like naturally colored. Yes.
Well, making you look kind of flush. Yes. That's the whole point of blush, is making you kind of like, look a little flush, like, oh, I look alive.
Yes.
Yes, totally. Okay, so that one we got to look that one up.
Yeah.
I gotta go check that out. So good. I have used a few of their other things. I do love their bronzer as well, but I have one of theirs like kind of touch-up sticks, and it's just not enough coverage for me. Oh, yeah. Like, I feel like I just need a little bit more. And not that I even do full coverage all over my whole face, but I'll usually do full coverage like more in my T-zones, just because that's where I have like more discoloration. Because I don't have as cute of freckles as you do.
No, not the freckle fan, but that's fine.
Okay, and then my last one I'm so excited about, because I had already posted about these, but now that I've been wearing them. So Free People did a collaboration with On Cloud Shoes. Did you? Oh, I did not see gosh. These. Oh my gosh. Okay. And they're like the Monster Cloud ones.
Oh, so wait, like yes, really I did. Yes, I have seen these. Okay, yes.
They are
I didn't realize it was a collaboration, though.
Yes.
I think I just saw on Free People.
Yeah, so like on the back of the On Cloud, so like the colors are so cute. The inside are like a floral print. They're so freaking cute. And then on the back of them, there is like the Free People logo on one, like on each side of the shoe. I know. So they're to die for. So like I said, I posted about, I got an email and they're like, we've done a collaboration with Free People. I clicked on them and I was like, shut your mouth. You're like,
done, sold.
Literally, done, sold. They're $180. So I felt like I did have to take 5 minutes to really like, okay,
process.
How many times can I wear these?
Girl math.
Let's divide it up. I literally was like, okay, so I go to the gym 6 days a week, even if I wore them 3 days a week, even if I did $2 a wear instead of $1 a wear, I'm like, I only have to wear them, that's like 90 times. I'm like, that's 3 months. 3 months.
Done.
This is, done. Anyway, I literally ordered them right away. I just went on last night to get the link for these. Yeah. They're already sold out.
Oh, I'm sure.
They have I'm not even shocked. Yeah. They're phenomenal. They're so cute. And so now I've been wearing them. I've for sure already worn them like 6. So
you're there almost.
I know. I'm like, what's 6? Okay, that's like $12 off already. But they are crazy comfortable. Like the very first day I wore them, like right out of the box, I wore them for like 14 hours.
You're like, I'm just gonna keep these on.
Literally not even quite.
Like, no breaking them in.
No.
Oh, amazing.
Like they didn't hurt like the back of my ankles, nothing. And I wore like no show socks, so my socks weren't up high at all.
Okay, awesome.
They are amazing. So if you can't get the Free People ones, but I do recommend, they're probably gonna be like hot stuff something. But the Free People ones they're just so freaking cute. But if you can just even get the Monster Cloud ones that are like that thicker base, I love them. I mean, I
love a good tennis shoe that's cute,
yes,
but also comfortable.
Yeah, and I do feel like these would be so cute with like kind of a cropped wide leg with like a white V-neck or like kind of a gray t-shirt.
Yeah. Well, and I love that we're like steering away, because I remember like the phrase used to always be "pain is beauty."
Yes.
And I feel like we're finally getting away from that in a lot of sense. Like you can make comfortable things that are cute.
Yes.
And send me all of that, because I'm like I feel like it kind of started with even sweat sets when it became like huge to wear sweat sets out. That was like such a, oh my gosh, this is
like you monumental to wear your pajamas out. Yeah. Yes.
But you could style them with a jean jacket or a puffer vest or tennis shoes, or you could dress them up. And I'm like, I am here for this. Like I was meant to be born during
this time.
Like pain is not beauty. Comfort can be beauty.
I feel like too, like back in the day when, so like, because I was there in the original 90s when they were wearing like not sweat sets, but like where they would wear like a tank with like oversized sweat pants, right?
Yeah.
But literally your only options were men's.
Yeah.
That's it. And if you didn't have this like teeny tiny body that like could look good in that oversized fit, you look like a like I could never wear them because I feel like I had a shape already by then. Like I just was for sure womanly. And so now, in fact, I just ordered 2 new sweatsuits.
Heck yeah.
I hope they come today. But no, Like I got one last year for Christmas, a Nike one, and it's kind of like a brown color. Yeah. And I'm obsessed with it. I love it so much. And even now, like with more wintry sports, because like football gets cold.
Yes.
My, daughter with softball, it can get really cold. And I'm like, now I feel like I can wear those and like, what have I been doing with my life?
Yes.
Like, why have I been trying to wear jeans and just like sweatshirts and a coat? Like, I'm literally wearing a full sweatsuit and I'm not freezing anymore.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm a big fan. Big fan. So anyway, so that is my top 5 favorite things this week. All of them I'm very jazzed about. But yeah, those On Cloud, the Monster ones are their chef's kiss. They're so good. I know. So it's just, I definitely do not have a hard time coming up with
5 things.
Yes,
like I got this.
To talk about. Yes, I know. Okay, and I'm like, we've probably already been talking for so long, but okay, I want to jump in. You guys, Bailey is like an entrepreneur. Okay. You have such an entrepreneur brain. Do. One of the first things I think we when we ever met. I mean, we've been doing book club for 2 years now, which is crazy. Wild. Yes,
that's crazy.
It is crazy.
Like when someone said that the other day, I was like,
I know. I was like, no way. Like how did that happen?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, squishing the dog here, but no, I don't know. I just feel like right from that get-go, you're like, oh, I'm doing this. And I was like, wait, what? And you have 2 small children. Now you're pregnant with the 3rd, which is also a phenomenal story. I love that too. But I just so many things. So are you wearing a marigold dress or is this something different?
No, it's not. But it's okay. I do love this dress.
It's darling on you. It's darling. So you have a dress company called Marigold. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to get into the whole backstory of how you even got into the fashion thing because I have heard that story and it was great. But you worked for another clothing store, a local store, and from there you kind of got the vibe to do something more with fashion, right? Okay, and have you started? And what is it on Instagram? Marigold.co?
Marigold Clothing Co.
Oh, Clothing Co. Okay, go on there, you guys.
Between clothing and co.
Okay, I think so too. Now that you say that.
Yeah.
But I'll post about it. I'll for sure throw up some of your videos because you have great content. Oh. We just talked about this too. I just have such a hard time coming up with stuff.
I know. It's my least favorite.
You have done a great job. A great job. But you have the cutest dresses, and then you also started talking about designing on your own too.
Yeah. Yeah. All the dresses are actually self-designed, except for I did one launch in April that was wholesale.
Oh my gosh.
So
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so it's fun and it's a process. And
where do you feel like you get your inspiration?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I just
comes to you.
Yeah, I mean, so I am a little psycho, and my husband doesn't help me in the sense where I just have
too many thoughts.
Yep. Too many thoughts. It's my brain is always going, and I'm like, how could I make this better? Or how could I use this to be creative? And I have probably 700 companies I want to start that I'm if anyone ever wants to start a company, please come to me and I'll give you an idea and you tell me what you're passionate about and I'll give you a company to start, because if I could, I would. Honestly, if I could run 700 companies, I would.
But you could end up being a venture capitalist at some point then.
I love
what's your degree in?
Business management and leadership.
Okay, so it is totally along those lines.
Yes, yeah. Well, and I studied business management and leadership with event planning emphasis to go into all event planning. Oh, that was kind of the goal.
I remember that.
Yeah, so that was the goal, and then I decided I wanted to be a wedding planner, and then there's 2 things that kind of just no, that's not going to happen. Okay. One was that I didn't want every Saturday gone my entire life.
Yes.
That is dedication.
Yep. This is why I don't do hair and makeup anymore.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
And I knew that I wanted my weekends, even if I had all my weekdays. I still didn't want to give up. I'm it's not worth all the weekdays for not having the weekends.
Well, and honestly, once your kids start getting older, that's when everything is.
Yes. Exactly.
Even everything. Club soccer when you're 4 years old on a Saturday.
Yes. Yeah. And then the second thing was I'm just a little too blunt. And so if someone was like, I really like this color purple for my wedding, I would be like, it's terrible. It's a terrible shade. I can't do your wedding because you picked that color. I'm just
so we're not gonna mesh.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I am not your girl because I just have too many opinions when it comes to people's choices.
I so appreciate that because we, just as a side note, like there's books that we've read and you're like, I didn't like it at all. And I'm like, really? I loved it.
Yeah.
But I so appreciate that because that is what makes our book club so great. Yeah. Right?
It's the Croatian in me.
It's like so many of us, sit down, sis. So many people don't say that.
Yeah.
But because we do, that means we read a ton of different books.
Yeah.
We read tons of different genres of books.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, again, that's just what makes us mesh so well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
So then I finished school and I was like, well, I just want to do. Aaron laughs at me because I'm like going through this. I call it my midlife crisis, and he's like, "You're 28."
Yeah, but I just started a podcast,
and I'm like, Aaron, I have like 7 things I want to do, and he's like, "Okay, talk to me about them."
Yeah,
and I could go on with every idea for like
hours,
and he's like, yeah, well, you gotta figure out which one they're all great ideas and they could all happen.
So he's super supportive.
Oh, it's like almost kind of bad. Like he probably should be a little bit more like,
yes, let's do it.
Yeah, and he knows that like I'm the type of person where like I will put 100% in.
Yeah.
And so he's like, you could make any one of them work.
Sure.
And that's kind of how it happened. Like I had this desire actually when I was pregnant with Brooks, and I was like, there are no great clothes when you're pregnant, and maternity clothes are terrible and awful, and then people try to dress themselves in clothes that are not for maternity, and I'm like, why has this market not gone anywhere?
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I started like looking more into like designs and how things are made and measured. And then I got the job. We moved here to Utah. I got a job a few years into being here, and I learned even more about kind of the fashion world and how it works and how manufacturers work and how wholesale works. And so then with Marigold, I just kind of started, like, I took out my iPad and I'm like, I'm just going to get to work on things that I love and that make sense in my brain, that like, oh, this is nursing friendly, or this is really great for a bump. Like, this is meant to be worn for your whole pregnancy, not just like,
and just body shapes in general. Like, how do we contour the places that need to be contoured?
Yes.
And fabric where it needs to.
Exactly. And that just kind of exploded because I still work full time, and I feel like, and I love my job. I really do. And it's challenging and it's great. And I love my workplace. But I feel like when I come home, I had to have a creative outlet.
Sure.
Because I wasn't using all of that I learned in school and all the entrepreneur classes that I took.
Yeah.
And the event planning side of my brain where I want to be creative. I wasn't using that as much as I wanted to at work, or at least not for my own things. Yeah. If that makes sense. Like for my own choosing.
Because if you don't mind, what are you doing now? Like tell us what your current job is.
So I'm an executive assistant for doTERRA.
Okay.
So we've got the whole doTERRA family. Yeah. My husband's a nurse there. I'm there as an executive assistant, and our kids go to daycare there. So we're just...
It's fantastic. They just love it.
Yeah. But no, it's been a really great place. I did executive
that makes sense, because if you're doing executive assistant stuff, you're doing stuff for other people. You're not being really creative.
Yeah. Which is so great because, I don't know, it's challenging, and I work for the president, Murray Smith, and he's amazing. He's awesome. He's great to work with. But yeah, I just felt like I needed an outlet. Like I needed something to come home to that was like mine.
Yep, for sure.
And my own project. And I told Aaron, like when we were dating, because he's very much like, I want you to be able to stay home if you want to stay home. Like if that's what you want to do. So I want to do everything I can to like be able to provide. And I kind of told him when I'm dating, like, yeah, that's amazing. And if I had the opportunity to do that, then that's great. But also at the same time, I'm such a go-getter that it's hard for me to imagine myself like being
staying home.
100%. At least not doing something while I'm staying at home.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, like this week, my thing Aaron's making fun of me for is I started making busy books for the kids because I'm about to go on maternity leave.
Yeah.
So I like made all of these activities for the kids, laminated them all, made all these books, and I'm like, I think I could sell this. And Aaron's like, okay,
he's like, let's ratchet that back.
Yeah, he's like, okay, Bailey's 700th endeavor, and here we go. And I just do that. Like, my brain just gets going.
I love that about you, though, because I think that's why when you're just one of the many reasons why you are so fascinating to talk to, because you do have so many ideas and you can like talk through so many things. And I feel like busy books are a big thing, though. They are a big thing.
Well, like, and I know my kids love them.
Kids uses them, yeah.
Well, and everyone always asks us, like, how are your kids sitting quietly in church? My kids are not perfect in church. But, like, I swear, like, I make homemade activities for them.
Yes, yeah.
And as dumb as that sounds, like, my kids love it. Yeah, and they just have a way to be able to, you know, be quiet. And there's ones that they use for, like, the sacrament. And then when the sacrament's over, they get out the other ones that are, like, not themed necessarily on Jesus or whatever. Yeah. And I don't know. So, like, it's like that. And then I've had, like, a lot of experience in just sports. And I grew up with 4 brothers. And I was the only girl. And so I get really passionate about sports things. And I'm like, Aaron, what if we started a company that, like, involved these sports? And I, like, get going on it. And he's like, actually a really, really good idea. And I'm like, okay. And, you know, I share with anyone. Exactly. Where do I spend all my time? Yes. And it's hard, too, because just, like, investments. And when you're at a time in your life where, like, we are in a stage where Aaron just finished his master's a year ago. Yep, like, he just finished school. And so for a long time, like, it was me providing for the family until he could get through school. I mean, he still worked a job on the side, but until he graduated, it was like...
Yeah, he wasn't doing anything full time. That was his focus.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so that's hard because we're, like, at this time, and that's probably the hardest pill for me to swallow is, like, I have all these things that I want to start and do, and it's like, let's be realistic. So, like, I'm actually working on a couple things right now. I don't know if you saw that I posted Marigold for sale.
No!
Yeah.
Oh,
so
my gosh,
I posted
I had no idea.
Because I'm going through my midlife crisis.
Okay.
So I do it, and it's so fun. Yes. And I have
but like, you've already been doing it for like a couple of years. It seems like. I mean, it seems like it's been as long as our book club.
Almost just under. Yeah, just under. Okay. Yeah. And so it's been.
So if anyone's looking for a dress business, it's for sale.
It's really awesome, and it's been really great. And if it doesn't work out, then, like, I'm not sad about it.
Sure.
I will just keep going with it, and it will be great. But I just have so many different things, and Aaron's like, maybe this is the time for you to take your maternity leave to like really, I mean, you're on leave, so you get to be home with the baby and the kids and maybe really dig into some different like ideas.
Sure.
And now that you've had this experience and you wanted this experience, and now I'm done with school and I'm in a better position, he was like, maybe we could dive into some other like opportunities that you've been brainstorming nonstop.
Which honestly would be amazing. Like that would be so cool.
Yeah. So anyways, Marigold, the whole design thing, you just kind of pick it up and go with it.
Sorry about that.
Izzy?
I know. You're a turkey. Lay down.
Anyway, so I just kind of self-taught.
Yes, but that's amazing. But but I also feel like, okay, yes, self-taught, but like your mom also was like, hey, I want to be an interior designer, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And then she did.
Yeah.
So like, I do definitely think you've had examples. I mean, I don't know what your dad does, but like, I know your mom's incredible, and she's like, she just like, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah. My mom like never had, it's really weird because people are like, oh, what did your mom do for work? And I'm like, well, my mom didn't technically work when I was a kid. But she worked all the time. Like, she was always doing something in the sense where, like, she was the president of a charter school.
Yes. And she helped start that. Yeah.
She like, school, and then she also was, you know, she did stuff for like the sports in the community, like the city sport leagues. And so she always had something that she was doing. And I feel like that's probably where my personality came from, where I'm like, I can't imagine just not doing
sitting,
even if it's for my kids. Like, I can't imagine just sitting around. Like, I would have to be involved in some sort of thing. I think mine goes a little bit further into entrepreneur. Like, I want to start something that's mine and create it and watch it like grow and bloom a little bit. And I think that's more my dad. But because he's just like can get passionate about a product or something, and he's in sales, and so I don't know. And then there's my grandpa, my mom's dad, who just like was a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
And I think watching him like be like, oh, I'm a real estate agent, and I'm an auctioneer, and I'm a farmer, and I'm this, and I was like, well, if you can do it all, like I want to be like grandpa, like I want to do it all. Like which is overwhelming. And sometimes I have to tell myself to like breathe. Or my husband has to tell myself.
I know. Well, but he's probably like, I've said this about my own husband too. Like, he has never told me no.
Yeah.
So if there was something, I came to him and was like, hey, I really want to do this and I really think I can do it, that he'd be like, okay. You know, even with the podcast stuff, even though he said he would not come on the podcast, he was like, but I will 100% support you. We can buy the furniture. We can do whatever we need to like change things up upstairs or like, you know, do whatever. And at first though, he was definitely like, oh, I thought you were kidding. I'm like, no, I'm not kidding. I'm going to do a podcast.
I'm going to do this.
Like, fantastic. Let me help you.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You know,
that's so Erin too.
Yeah. And so, but I also 100% believe, and that's why I say this about your parents. Like I said, I don't know your dad, but for sure your mom, but like my dad was like, you can do whatever you want, you know? And it was like, I mean, cause same, my mom didn't really work until I was more like, probably like in high school. Then she kind of started working. But she was busy. I mean, she helped with PTA stuff or she helped in the classrooms and stuff like that. And I don't know, for me, in fact, even my own son, like my sophomore the other day was like, did you ever want to be a stay-at-home mom? I'm like, no. Like, I just had never had that urge. It's not like, I think it's amazing. Like, the women that do it, they're phenomenal cooks. They're phenomenal at cleaning. Like, all of these things where like, I am very basic in those jobs. I know. I'm like,
my husband
I do literally the easiest meals possible. I often get frustrated that I even have to cook. So I'm like, just feed yourself. Why do we have to do this every night? But yeah, I don't know. So I love that. I love that about you. And I want my own daughter to feel that way, right? That it's like, it just was like, I don't know, I'll just figure it out. Like, whatever it is.
Isn't that like the American dream? Like, aren't you supposed to be able to be passionate about something? Like, I just am not tied to these, like, this is what you have to do.
Yep.
And I don't know. I'm just very much like, if you're passionate about something, learn how to do it. And Erin is the same way. So we're probably like a bomb waiting to explode.
Or a power couple.
Because he's like, I don't know, like a couple of years ago, he's like, I want to start a garden. And I'm like,
okay,
really random, but okay. And he was like, you know, we lived in a smaller house, so we didn't have a backyard for it, but we had a community garden.
Oh, yes.
And so he signed up, and he has now done it for 4 years, and it's insane what he's like learned to like. I have literally told him, I'm like, you could start a gardening Instagram account with like the knowledge that you gained from this. Because
and do like little courses. Or something.
And I was like, you just took this something where you're like, I kind of want to do this because that sounds like relaxing, intriguing, and fun to me.
Yes.
And you had a passion for it. And I'm like, and now your kids, like my son is like, oh, I'm going to go to the garden with dad. And this is a cucumber and this is a banana pepper. And I need to, he plants the seeds from like our.
So he does starts.
Yeah. Literally makes like a makeshift greenhouse, and my kids go out and they know we're watering the plants today, and like, this is how you transfer the seeds, and this is how you move the plants, and then we're going to go garden them, and just these skills like that. I'm like, oh, that's really cool that you are passionate about that and you dove into it. And I think that's kind of where we're both at, and that's all entrepreneurship is all about. It's all about, you have to have the passion and the drive, because it's going to take work and you have to learn. And I remember my first couple designs that I got back, like, I have some funny videos of me trying on dresses and like sending them to my mom or friend and being like, well, look at this disaster. Like, why did I tell them?
You designed and then you like sent it in and they essentially sent back.
I would send them a mock-up and then basically they would create. So that's how it works. I design something. I will give them measurements or give them an idea like, hey, our last dress measured this across the bust. I want something similar, or I want it tighter. You know, I want this type of material. And it's kind of a little bit of a guessing game because they're in China and you're here.
Sure.
But I'll send them a design and then I'll pay for them to make it into a sample, and they'll send it to me. So I have like a whole closet just full of samples.
Just samples.
Some that I totally produced, some that I love and I'm obsessed with, and others that I'm like, Like, that was a miss. Like, I have one that is just like Glinda's dress.
Oh my gosh.
And I didn't imagine them using tulle, but I like described the fabric and I was like, but I want it layered. Sure. So then by the time it came back, it was like
massive.
Poof. And
oh
like,
my gosh.
I'm like, well, I was going to a ball.
I was gonna say, like, maybe I could like sell it as like a homecoming dress.
Yeah, there you go. I'm like, he wants this really great sample that no one would wear anywhere else but maybe a ball.
Oh my gosh.
But it's just fun. Like, and that is what you have to be able to do is like, you have to be able to laugh at yourself.
Yes.
And you have to be able to dive deeper. Yeah. And you have to be able to do the things like you were saying, like social media can be such a nuisance sometimes. Yeah. But it is like so much of how like you can get your name out there, how people come to know you and your brand. And,
yes.
And I don't think people fully understand social media until they have to go out and do it for like a company or themselves. Or like there's 100%. No, because when you're on there is personal, it's so superficial, right? Yeah. It's just like, oh, I'm just on to post a picture of my family and I can post it and I'm done. Yeah. And the time and the thought that goes into like other accounts is insane. Like I thought it was like, oh, easy peasy. Yeah. I got this. Like I'll just do caption, like, I'll do this. I
feel like it's like a full-time job, and I'm not even doing that much. So I can only imagine these actual influencers who are doing it as I mean, it is a full-time job.
Yes, or people who are doing it for companies. Like I think about that and I'm like, there's a reason your job exists. Yeah. And you have to be good at what you're doing.
Yes.
And those people have such great talent. And so to learn all the skills to start something, it's like really rewarding to me, which is why I do it. Like I tell Aaron all the time, like I'm going to be a constant learner. Like I'm the type of person who I'm like, I miss school. I miss college. I miss like being in class and like learning things. Even if someone had to pick my whole schedule for me and I didn't get to pick my classes and I didn't love the subjects, I would love being there to learn in that area. Yeah. And I think that's why entrepreneurship like just is so drawn to me, because I'm like, if I see something or an area and I want to fix it, I'm just going to go dive in and do it. It's not as feasible being a young mom. And that's been really hard to like learn how to balance.
Totally.
But learning to do it with my kids has been like really fun. Like my kids are really funny when they get in front of a ring light, they'll start dancing. Yeah. Like, because they've done reels with mom. Like, they're like, okay, this is how you do it. And it's the same with like dresses. Like they know, they'll set out samples and they'll be like, Mom, this one's really pretty. And like, I like this fabric. And teaching them that like mom is constantly trying to learn.
And I think that's my biggest thing too is not even just my daughter, but it's just having my kids just like, you work hard.
Yeah.
And you figure it out.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what it is.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just like, I didn't know how to do a podcast. Yeah. I had to do, my gosh, my head was, I feel like my brain hurt for weeks because I was just like trying to figure out all this technology, which I feel like I'm really tech savvy.
Yeah.
But like when you're having to learn something totally new, I was like,
or even somewhat familiar.
Gosh, this is,
you don't realize how much goes into it.
Oh my gosh, yes. Like it just, and that's where too, I also have like given myself grace where I'm like, listen, I know it's not going to be perfect right out the gate, but I'm going to get better and better every time. Yes. And I hope that every single episode gets better and better. And I'm like constantly kind of changing things up.
Yes.
Like just to see like,
you'll find your groove. Yes. And that's how it is with but you have to be willing to put in the hours to do that. Because I think a lot of people are like, I just want to be my own boss or do my own thing.
Yeah.
That way I'm not tied to like my 9 to 5. And I'm like, well, you're not tied to your 9 to 5. You're tied to midnight to midnight now until you figure out your groove. Like, I mean,
even
yes, but no.
Hair.
If that makes sense.
No, even with doing hair though, like I am my own boss and I make my own hours and I get to set that schedule. But then it's like, I definitely get into where I'm like, oh, I feel like I've got to do this. And like, if people are texting, like I always want to get right back to them. Yeah. And so I'm like, and I actually am totally okay with that. That doesn't really bother me at all. It's just more like,
you have to be willing to do it.
It's just the time that it takes where it's like, I could get, 7 or 8 texts in a day.
Yeah.
Just like about scheduling. And then it's like, okay, well, this is this. And I got to like search through my schedule and like, okay, what days of this week do I want to work? And I've got this orthodontist appointment, so I can't work on this. Like, I'm like trying to do my own schedule, plus work around my kids' schedules, plus work around my husband's schedule. Like, it's just.
And I'm sure at the beginning, it's like finding clients too. Like you're working
for sure
forever to find people who will come to you, trust you, stay with you. Like
totally. And it's just like,
it's building a business.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, and it's probably was so different too because social media wasn't as big.
There was no social media. Like none at all. Like, I mean, we didn't have Instagram until probably
think I was in high school.
2010?
Yeah, I think it was like
11?
12 or something. Yeah, 11 or 12.
Yeah. Because I remember, I want to say that Dylan, who's a sophomore, was like 3-ish at the time, and he was born in 2008. So it had to have been somewhere around. So literally, I mean, I grew my entire business just by word of mouth.
Yeah. Like, which is like 100%
word of mouth.
Hours. And people don't realize that. Like,
no, and I worked a full-time job. Like, I worked for a technology company for residential home builders from 8 to 5. And then I worked doing hair like a couple nights a week. Then once I started having kids, I still worked during the day from home for the technology company. And then still, I mean, I was working 2 and 3 jobs for multiple years until I decided to like, okay, I think I'm going to take, my hair thing more full time. And that's when I was doing like 4 and 5 days a week the last couple of years, probably like 2 to 3 years. And now I'm like, I've got to reel that back. Like, it's just like too much. Like, my kids need me during the day. We're having to like take off school for tournaments. We're having, there's just like too much going on. And even now, I mean, again, this is the whole reason I started the podcast was because it was like, I want to do something different. Like, I want to be like, I'm super creative in my job, but I just wanted a different outlet. Yeah. And this is the reason why I love doing people's hair, is talking to them behind the chair.
Yeah, for sure.
And so it is like, but yeah, I mean, the entrepreneur stuff, like, I am to a certain extent, but I also, and when you talk about like learning, I don't necessarily want to go sit in a classroom, but I would love to have somebody, like, if I'm like, teach me everything I need to know about podcasting, and I want somebody to just tell me. I don't want to read about it.
Yeah.
I want you to just sit down with me one-on-one and tell me everything. I will take notes. I will do all the things. I feel like I learn better that way than like sitting in a classroom, which I know is essentially someone talking to you, but I feel like the way it's done is just a little different.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I love that about you, that you want to do like all those things. Just remember us little guys when you're a bazillionaire.
Or I just keep trying all my ideas and none of them ever take off, but I just keep going because I'm like, I have to get them all in my lifetime.
No, they will.
Oh,
you have listen. It's just like the person that made up the umbrellas that go in drinks.
Yeah,
and they're like $1 million. Like,
there you go. It just takes one little thing.
Yes.
Right? I know. Aaron makes fun of me because
solving a problem.
Yeah.
Like,
it's from like something as small as creating a product. Yep. All the way to as big as like, I told Aaron, I'm like, I'm going to own my own school. He's like,
she's like,
I'm like,
good luck with that.
Day.
Yes.
One day. Like, it will happen.
See, and that feels so overwhelming to me. Like, I'm like, there are certain things I know I could do, but I don't know. But I'm also not creative coming up with product like that. Like, I always in my mind think like, oh, I wish someone would come up with something like this.
Yeah.
Because my brain doesn't work like an engineer.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't come, like, I'm like, oh, I need this product, but I would have no idea how to go from A to Z of like how to get there.
Yeah. And I just felt like when I did the science fair when I was in third or fourth grade, my project was making glasses that cleaned themselves.
Oh my gosh.
Because I didn't want to take my glasses off as a third grader to clean them. So it had windshield wipers that came out
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's what
You've always been an entrepreneur. Always. Seemed to me, I'm like, what is the easiest thing I can do?
Yeah.
When I was like, I mean, in fact, my mom came up with the idea, and I'm sure other people had done it in the past, but my science fair project was, what was like the most absorbent diaper?
There you go.
Because I came from seven siblings, and 4 of which were younger than me.
Yeah.
And so we just had diapers in our house for so many years. Yeah. It was like, all right, what's the most absorbent brand? Yeah. And I was like, great, I can get on board with that. Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah. I'm like definitely the kid who like went a little too far on projects, probably. Like built a house that had running electricity in it out of popsicle sticks.
Oh
and like,
my gosh.
Yeah, with my grandpa, because he is an engineer. So he would like come over, my dad's dad, and he would like, he helped me wire the whole house, like a working doorbell. And it was made out of popsicle sticks.
Oh my gosh, that is insane.
Yeah, and I just always loved that stuff. Like I thrived on being able to, I don't know, create.
Well, I think, like you said, create and learn, and it's all encompassing.
Yeah, which is definitely my mom's side. Like, she's just so creative in everything she does. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you realize this about her, but she's definitely the person where like there's an idea or you see something and then she can take it and make it like 10 times better or more creative.
That does not surprise me whatsoever.
Yeah. So sometimes I always joke with her, especially because she's an interior designer, but I'm like, I don't want to send you pictures of me hosting book club because you would have done it 10 times better. Or maybe don't come over and see how my house is decorated. Oh, but my mom just like has always been that person that like, where I like literally watch her create stuff out of nothing.
Yeah. Like
and magic. She'll see something, and I feel like you have a very similar talent, and I think you like, I don't know, look at your house. Well, look at the things that you see. To some degree. Yeah. No, but like look at the things you see, and like someone would walk by, and I feel like I've gotten better just because I've spent time with my mom. Sure. It's not even a talent that I just have. It's just from being around someone. Yeah. But like most people would walk into an antique store and not even like could probably walk through the whole thing and walk out.
Yeah.
I would say like 90% of people will just walk in and not understand.
Yeah.
Not only like the value of something, but also like the way you could stage it and make something so cute or make something beautiful out of, you know, and that is creative and that is a talent. Yeah. And that's something that I feel like my mom was always outside of her brain was just,
and you're right. I do feel like I see the potential in a lot of things.
Yeah, you do.
I can see that to sometimes my detriment, right? Where I'm like, no, I know that I can do something with it. My husband's like, you got it for 5 years and you saw it. I'm like, but it hasn't come to me yet.
That's like, fine. It's still there. It's
but yeah, I agree with you. There's definitely, and I think too, because I love holidays.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of times when I am looking at certain things, I'm like, oh, I could use just be based on a color, right? Yeah. Like it could be like a vintage can of baking soda, but I'm like, that's red, white, and blue. I'm going to use that for the 4th of July.
Right.
So yeah, I can definitely see things like that when it's,
and I think that's like how the brains are similar, but different because I'm not that sense in
things, but you are in business.
But
sure.
Yeah. Which is kind of cool to like relate, if that makes sense. Cause that's how I feel like I relate to my mom a lot in that sense where I'm like, I feel like I got your creativeness.
Yeah.
It's just in my dad's area of like, my dad was the businessman. Yeah. And like, not that my dad's not a creative guy.
Yeah.
But
maybe
we'll make fun of him sometimes with the things he'll come up with. But then there's me and my mom, and I think my mom's a big dreamer. And like, anyways, I don't relate to her as far as like being able to be artistically creative.
Sure.
But in the business side, I like love that.
And I would love to see her, like what her style, obviously like when she's designing for other people, she's not necessarily doing her own style.
Yeah.
But I would love to see kind of her own stuff, like what she does and like how she puts.
I tell her all the time, I'm like, you just need to do like little clippets or like pictures of your own decorations.
Stuff that she's done.
Just because, and it's really crazy to just like, I remember like kind of her doing something and then it almost becoming a trend. Like it caught on.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of crazy. I feel like that's a talent too for people to be able to pick up on something before. And like that's something you need almost in a business, right? For to be successful is like you have to be ahead of the trend and ahead of what people are going to do, which is why living in Utah is so fun, but also so hard. Because so many ideas are here.
Oh my gosh. I would not. I actually heard a stat. I can't remember what it is, so I'm not even gonna like try. But basically, like there are more entrepreneurs in the state of Utah than like any other state in the entire United States.
Oh, I believe it. My husband is shocked all the time when I'm like, oh yeah, Skull Candy is from Utah. Oh yeah, Stamps is from Utah. Oh, like
Dime Beauty. Freaking
Saint,
Cozy Earth.
Saint is from Utah, isn't it?
Oh yeah, Saint Makeup.
Yeah, she's from Utah.
Yep.
I'm like,
yes. Yeah, Saint Makeup. So is Shine.
Yes.
Cosmetics. I mean, there's are so much. Traeger grills.
Yeah.
Like what else?
Which is awesome because it's like so many opportunities. Mm-hmm. It is like hard sometimes, I feel like, which is where I feel like I've also learned a lot from Marigold.
Yeah, sure.
And I continue until I don't do Marigold anymore. I obviously know I will.
Yeah.
But it's a state where like it almost makes it harder to be an entrepreneur in some ways. It makes it easier because there's access to a lot of things.
I was just going to say there's actually access to investment money. Like, there is a lot.
Well, and there's also investment to people who will back you.
Yeah.
you find friends and your friends will post about it and then it will explode. And the next thing you know, but it also is hard because you are facing a lot more competition of this and similar entrepreneurs. Totally. And you have to be unique and you have to find a way to like, it's not even anymore about what you're offering, but it's about your story. Yeah. If that makes sense when it comes to like.
Well, and I think also like how you portray whatever it is too, you know, because it's like there are a lot of dress companies. So why does one make it versus not the other one when they're both super cute? Yeah. You know, it just 100%. Depends on like what you have behind it. 100%. And that's where like, I'm going to have him on at some point too, but my brother-in-law and sister-in-law are the ones who started Savory Fund. Oh, so they like a restaurant management company, you know, and they, I mean, he's done multiple businesses over the years and my husband like was, you know, did stuff with him with the technology side at one point. And, but yeah, like he's done 1,000,001 things and he's always got his hand in something of these new businesses that he's like, oh, I'm going to invest in this because I can see it going somewhere. Yeah. Like Liquid Death. Like, you know that water?
Yes.
I remember like seeing that and being like, what in the world is this water in a can?
Aaron didn't know until the other day what it was. Yes. And I'm like, oh yeah, Liquid Death. And he's like, what?
Yeah. And I'm like, you're like, no, because it's literally kill your thirst. And you're like, one, whoever came up with that marketing is freaking genius. Yeah. Yeah. I could never come up with that. But two, that he had the foresight to invest in that company and now it's everywhere. And it's at like concerts and it's on, I mean, it's in gas stations obviously, but it's like a huge what is it at? It's in Vegas. Like maybe it's UFC. I can't remember. They're a big sponsor of something. Oh, really? Yes.
Wow.
And cool. So it's like, how
that's like one of my teachers in college.
Bringing it to like a family dinner. I was like, what is this? Yeah. But it's crazy to see again, just, you're right though. Like the state of Utah, we have so many amazing minds around us, right?
We
like
do.
Beautiful, brilliant minds around us.
Which makes it really fun too, because then like one of my favorite things about my job, like all-time favorite things, is networking as an executive assistant. Yep. Like the people, because I worked for Nu Skin before. Okay. And then I moved over to doTERRA, and I purely moved because Aaron was there. Yeah.
It just made your life easier.
Yeah, I did executive assistant and I did events or corporate events at Nu Skin, which honestly, corporate events is where it's at. And I freaking love that. Just planning parties for corporate events is, you're not on your weekends.
Well, and you almost have like unlimited budget too.
Well, it's just like
not unlimited, but you're like, the budget is like,
it's not a wedding budget.
Yeah, totally.
It's not like a,
especially a Utah
a small wedding budget. Yeah. So that was really fun. And rubbing shoulders with people like on the executive level. Mm-hmm. These people like Steve Lund and Ryan Napierski. And then now I'm over at doTERRA, and Kirk Jowers is the CEO, and he's huge in politics for so long. And these people who like have such great minds, brilliant, and they've done really great things, and they have they've started their own businesses, or they've, gone out on their own investments. And I love especially at doTERRA, like I ask questions. Like I'm a question person. I'm not afraid to be like, so tell me, like how did you do this? Yeah. How did you do this? Or how did this happen? And that is one of the coolest things about Utah.
Yes.
Networking. Love that. Like you can meet the coolest people if you're just okay to have like a conversation about it. Yeah. And I think that's another thing in business is like, there's no, like, I think sometimes I've never had this, and I don't know if it's because I've been an executive assistant. I was one in Arizona, also rubbed shoulders with some of the coolest people. Bill Guttery, amazing. Anyway, started the whole charter school that's going across the country now. Wow. Anyways, really amazing people. But I'm like, sometimes people have this perception of like, oh, it's the CEO, or it's the EVP of operations, or it's this person. And I'm like,
and
they got there.
There's someone
they got there. Yeah, I'm like, they got there somehow, especially in Utah. Yeah. Most of these people are going to be very approachable, and very easy to talk to, and just go up and like start a conversation. Yeah, and that's really fun. Like they kind of always tease me at doTERRA, my fellow executive assistants, because I always bring up the sports talk with all the executives, and I'm like, so did you guys watch the game last night?
Yes.
Or I always talk about golf since I play golf, and I'll be like, hey, like, how's the golf going? And, especially just the men on that floor love it when I can talk like, oh, did you see Rory play? Or you went out and played Hobble Creek. What'd you shoot? How was this hole? What, and you can relate to people. So it's just finding something to talk to someone about.
Yeah.
And connecting. And then the next thing you know is you're learning really awesome things from them. And it's not just, I don't know, people have things to share. So ask.
Well, and that's we're going to put that in a little quote that you just said that. People have things to say, so ask. Because once again, I have said from the very beginning, I have the coolest, greatest people in my life.
Yeah.
And I meet them. I haven't known you forever. I've known you for a couple of years. But it's like, I have so many awesome people in my life that I constantly am amazed at the things that they do, the advice that they give. And I'm like, I just want everyone to know them.
Yeah.
I want everyone to have access to these people that I have access to, because they're so freaking cool.
Yeah, which is what makes podcasts really cool, right? Like, I love it. Like, because even Tierney that you had on the first time, when I'm listening to this and her story, I knew her on Instagram before I knew her story. But then it's like, that made, not that she wasn't personable before.
No.
But it was really cool to hear this background and be like, oh my gosh, that would be someone I would so love to sit down and have a conversation with. And then almost through the podcast, you get to experience that. Because you're having similar thoughts as you're asking her questions about things and she's responding. You're like, oh, I wonder how you did that. And then she answers it and you're like, wow, this is cool to like make these connections, and you feel closer to people in a sense. And that's what people need. People need people.
Yes.
People need, like, I think you call it your tribe. Like, I got a lot of people in my group, my tribe.
Yeah. Well, I have like my village.
Your village. That's what you call it.
Yeah, I say my village. But then also that I collect people.
Yes. I love that.
Like my friend Emily said that. And I'm like, that 100% like is all encompassing of me. Like, I collect people.
Yeah.
I always want to like be able to walk in somewhere and see somebody that I know.
Yes.
And that drives my husband crazy. But I'm like, but that's just like, I love the do you know game. I love the, I just like, I want to connect everywhere that I can.
Yeah.
Like, oh, so-and-so, I love them. Or like, oh my gosh, I would love to talk to so-and-so. And like you said, I mean, a lot of times it's not what you know, it is who you know. Yeah. And so it's like, I know so-and-so, Kate, please tell me all about this. And that's where like Tierney's been a huge help. Where like, know that I'm not in the fashion area of Instagram, but because she just knows basics, she has literally been so lovely.
Yeah.
To help me like with any question that I have of like, okay, how do I do this with Instagram? And what about this? And tell me your experience with this. And not that even that she has like 5 million followers, but she has like 25,000, and that's a freaking lot. Like she had told me one time that she had learned, I think from Michelle Gifford, who.
Oh yeah. I know who Michelle is. Yeah.
She's amazing. And I follow her and she has such great advice, but she had like done a class from Michelle Gifford, and she said, listen, people are like, oh, you only have 1,000 followers. If you are standing in a room and there was 1,000 people standing in there with you, you'd be like, oh wow, I have a lot of followers. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
even 100%. The number does not sound big, maybe compared to
even 500 people. That's bigger than a sacrament meeting, like giving a talk,
right? It's also scary that we stand up in front of these people. And I'm joking, but no, I have said for years. I mean, I have people who, that like saying anytime I've like needed something, like I need advice on this, I seem to have those people that week sit in my chair.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I am so glad you're here.
Yes.
I need to talk to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is.
And I get it. It's a fear for people, but I'm like, I could just like, I know, ingrain that in people that like.
But you can't, your children. Because that
true.
Is like,
it's true.
That literally like, that is, if there's anything that I could have taught my kids, I mean, obviously there's a lot of things, but it is being comfortable talking to adults.
Yeah.
And so all of my kids are totally comfortable like asking questions, and obviously it gets better and better as they get older. But my son that's a sophomore, I mean, we were at the Savannah Bananas game a couple weeks ago,
Yeah, we saw that.
Yes, it was so fun. It was so fun. And the gentleman so I had gotten tickets through my brother-in-law, and it was like one of his actually old mission companions who was like in charge of that. And he's really good friends with a lot of people in that area. But anyway, he was like, hey, make sure you say hi to my friend. And my husband and I were talking to him, and literally he's not even 16 yet. He's 15. Walked right up, put his hand out. And he's like, hey, I'm Dylan. Just like.
Love it. Yeah.
Like most high school boys would not do that, especially to someone who is literally like an executive for a very large, Larry H. Miller company or whatever he is. Don't quote me on that. I can't remember exactly what he is, but you have to I don't know. And I know that a lot of people have a fear of that. Listen, I get nervous speaking in front of a lot of people. Yeah. It's weird. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. But then when I'm like, this doesn't scare me at all. Yeah. Or I could talk in front of 200 youth and that was no big deal. But I don't know, maybe it depends on what I'm speaking about, but I don't know. It is just if you would just open your mouth and just ask the questions, connect with so many people.
And I think that's the other thing too, is that I've learned is I have a fear, probably 90% of the time, but my fallback is always, maybe that's why I love being a constant learner, is finding something that is similar ground between me and that person. Connect with. Because if I can go in knowing that, the person that I'm going to be having the conversation with is a really big baseball fan. Yes. And I'm a baseball fan, I don't have to go up and be super formal and be oh, I really want, you can start a connection and one conversation will lead to another one. Yes. Just from you bringing up something that you're already passionate about. Oh yeah, I saw, the BYU helmet in your office. Did you watch the game? Are you a fan? Yeah. And that can lead from one thing to the next. Yeah. And you just kind of grow. And that's how you build relationships and connections, and the networking grows. And then the next thing you know is you do have maybe not a tribe that you would call up for anything, but certain areas hey, I want to learn more about this. And I have someone who could be a good resource. Yes. And I would say,
especially in business.
Yes. And I would say 98% of the time, those people want to share their knowledge. 100%. I don't think I've ever met someone who didn't want to share their knowledge or where they had been. Yeah. And how they got there and how they changed. I think sometimes there's this persona they're closed off and they've made it and they, they're just not.
And they're secretive and they don't want to tell anyone.
Or they're so successful that they're tunnel vision almost. But 99% of the time, a lot of them will take it as a compliment that you just.
Yeah. And they want to mentor you essentially. Yes. Yes. So, and it's interesting because I do feel that's all being behind the chair is, right? Yeah. Is that these people I see every 6 to 8 weeks or every 3 to 4 months or whatever it is, I remember tidbits, and then I can go back and be hey, how was this? Yeah. What about this? Tell me about this. How, and they're how do you remember all that? I'm because I am invested in you. Yeah. I'm invested in our connection and having those common grounds and
which is a skill. Yeah. It's a skill, and it takes time to gain. Yeah, totally. If you're not naturally at it. But
it's amazing. It's so funny because my mother-in-law always says to me, and I know she listens, so hi mom, but she always says, "Gosh, you know a little bit about a lot of things." And I'm I'm taking it as a compliment. I hope that's how she means it, but. No, but I do take that as a compliment. Yeah. Because my mom says, I do know a lot of things. Yes. A lot of, small amount about a lot of things, but I feel it's enough to make me dangerous.
Yeah. Well, right? That's what my mom said. My mom says, I'm a jack of all trades, but a master of none. Yeah. So, I have all these things. And I feel she's very similar in the sense to you, where, she's very good at remembering things about people. Yeah. And, I swear I will get a phone call every day, and my mom's oh, it's someone's birthday, and I'm how do you remember?
Have you seen? I totally remember birthdays.
Birthday, yeah, totally. And she can recite phone numbers, or she just has this memory about people, and it is an investment, and something that she's totally just done, and now it's a part of her, and I'm I love and admire that about people, especially you and my mom, and seeing that, and nothing feels better than when someone remembers something that you're going through or you've done, and you're wow, thanks. So if you're practicing that, I try to consciously practice that. Yeah. And I'm a little bit of a cheater, and I'll put things in my phone to remind me.
Which is totally okay.
But I'm totally okay. That's what I don't know. But that's what you need.
But you're making the effort. Yeah. Again, that's really what it comes down to, right? It's just putting the effort in of I want to remember this for next time. Yeah. And I think it's the same though. It's I have, even I don't do very many male clients, but I have some male clients that same day, are business guys in all these different areas. And I'm oh, I know that if I had a question, I could 100% text them and be I'm just going to see. And I do that all the time. We're talking about something. I'm hang on, I've got a contact. Let me just hurry and see kind of what their thoughts are. Or I don't know. And actually, the new song with Luke Combs and Post Malone.
Yes.
What is it? You got a guy or something?
Yes.
I've got a guy.
Yes, I've got a guy.
Yes. And I'm like, what? That is 100% me. I was like, oh, I got a guy.
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
And that very much is my dad. My dad always has a guy. He's always got someone who can like, I've got a guy of this, or I've got a guy who can do this. And I'm like, that has really taught me to, I think, also collect people, because my dad are very similar like that with, kind of our social, like how we like to interact with people and all that kind of stuff. But yeah.
Did you grow up here?
Yeah.
And then did your dad grow up here, or where's your dad from?
No, he actually grew up in Mexico City. Oh. So his parents were both in the colonies.
Yes, you did tell me this.
But he came, so he went to high school like starting in 9th grade. Yeah. And my mom and him actually went to high school together. So yeah, he's basically been here since. Yeah, you did tell me that. I remember that now. Yeah. I was just trying to think of like, because I feel like that is such a trait of the older generation too. Yes. My grandpa was the same way, like always knew someone or always had someone. And my grandpa and grandma both. And but like you got someone for someone.
Well, and it was just
people are like, hey, I have a question about this, and I know that you know about this. And I'm like, yes. Let me help you.
Well, and there's even things that like now that my grandpa and grandma have both passed, like I'm gonna get chills talking about it, but like at their funerals, learning things about them that they could do or did do that I didn't even know they knew how to do, because people would share stories, and I'm like, what? And like seeing a whole community come together of like everyone wanting to remember and do something for them, because they helped them out like they did this, and it's like, oh, I didn't even know, like, my grandpa knew how to do that, or that my grandma, I wasn't surprised by it. No, like it wasn't a shocking thing, just because I knew what type of people they were, but it was still really, really, really cool. Yeah, to be like, one, you make the connection of like, oh, I know this person does something, and most of the time people like to be used for their skills. Like if someone knows that I'm good at something and they come to me and ask me for help, I'm like flattered.
Absolutely.
I'm like, wow, you thought of me. Yes. Like, yes, that feels really good. That's
what I'm saying. Like, it's just like, I want to be someone's person.
Yes,
I want to be someone's
like that. Yeah. Everyone. No one's 100%. Above that.
Yeah. No. And so that's where I'm like, yeah, if I can be that, I don't know. And I that's so amazing that your grandparents were like that. And I feel like 100%, like my dad would be like that. My mom would be like, my grandpa was like that. Like, yeah. And it's interesting because I do feel like, I don't know, like that's all I could really hope for is to have people just like remember me for like helping them or service, or, just somebody who people wanted to be around. I don't know. Like,
or someone who just remembered things. Yeah, like I could always count on this person to remember and to ask me. Yeah. Like to ask the question.
Yeah. Yep, to ask the question.
And I think sometimes people try to go like above and beyond, which is not a bad thing. No. It's great. Like sometimes that's the right thing. But I think oftentimes too, just like the service of being like, I don't have anything necessarily planned for you. Yeah. But from noon to 1, I just want to sit and talk with you. Like I'm yours. Like this is your time. This is, I'm setting this aside for you because I'm invested.
For sure. For sure.
And I want to hear you out. And I know that you'll hear me out. And I don't know.
Yeah. And I've mentioned it a couple times too about how like there's certain people that I'm like, I really try not to schedule anyone while you're there when I'm doing your hair, because I want to talk that entire time. But that's obviously not always the case. I want to get people in. I want to make sure that I'm getting them in a timely manner and all the things. But I so look forward to that time where I get at least 45 minutes to sit with you uninterrupted.
Yeah, love it.
When do you ever get that?
It's the best.
That's, once again, why I'm doing a podcast, because I'm like, it's like a play date.
Yeah,
like, you
it is. It really is. That's a great way to say it. It's an adult play date.
Yes. I'm like, will you come hang out with me and just talk to me? Yes, I know. It's the best. That's what I mean. It is. It's so, Which, once again, this is why I wanted you to come on, because I just feel like your whole persona and the way you look at things and all of that, I don't know, has just been like so fun. Because we do need to probably get finished up, because I know you probably do have to get back to work. But tell me just a couple last things. So what advice would you have for somebody like wanting to maybe like kind of go the entrepreneur route? Maybe just not shy away from it?
Yeah, I think my two biggest advice, like pieces of advice, would be to network, like get to know who's around you, like, because you would be shocked at the people who want to support you or want to teach you things or would be willing to share a skill with you. And two would just be to dive in.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Yep.
It's scary and it's intimidating. And I would be a liar if I said that I haven't cried over like multiple nights. Sure. If I haven't like been stressed out of my mind. If it hasn't like left me questioning like, why am I doing this or what is bringing me here? But all of those things that you'll learn along the way, like every little piece of thing that I've learned, and knowing my passion behind it makes it worth it. Like if you know you have that passion, take that dive and start networking and talking. I can't even tell you the amount of people that I've presented business ideas to. Like I could walk into an executive room and I've talked to lots of people and sat down and been like, here's a business idea. Like, mentor me. Like, what do you think on it? Like, what would need to change? What would you, like, is this something you would invest your money in, your successful money in?
Totally.
Have those conversations with people and don't be afraid to like ask the questions in your networking.
I think also take constructive criticism.
Yes, 100%. You have
if you are going to do that, because that's how I feel. Like, no, please, like, tell me like all the things. If you're like not enjoying my podcast, so there's something I can do different, like, please. And I've had a lot of friends, even like the first episode out the gate, they were like, hey, I loved it, but like this was kind of off or this or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Where I'm like, I appreciate that. Like, I can't be better if I can really sometimes only see right here.
For sure.
I need an outsider's perspective.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's too, like with diving in, like you might get people who tell you not to do it. Don't let that set you back if you're feeling like it is supposed to happen. And I feel like a lot of people, the other hard thing is wait for this like perfect time in their life.
There is not. It will never happen.
Yeah, it will. And I'm like sitting here looking at myself and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm 28. I'm literally graduated in 2019. So I have 5 years of post-college experience. I'm a mom to almost 3 kids. This is probably not the time in my life to
start a business, to
be starting businesses or like all this. Yeah, I'm like to be investing and turning and flipping and like there's a lot of other things that are going on inside our lives, like my husband finishing school and us moving houses and us like
you guys have had a very, very busy last year.
We do, yeah. And it's just one of those things where even though it's been hard, like I don't look back and be like, I shouldn't have done it in this time period. I should have waited until I was 32 and was, you know, maybe done having kids if I am or am I not. I'm like, you can't wait. It's almost like, I always joke because I don't know if you're this way, but I will have like an outfit that I'll buy at the store that I'm obsessed with. So then I have to wait for the perfect moment to wear it.
Yes.
But then it just sits there.
I know.
And I've had to get to the point where I'm like, I'm not letting this sit
It's
anymore.
never going to be
like I'm gonna wear it when I see it and I look at it and I'm like, oh yeah, I love that outfit. Like wear it the day after you buy it. For Pete's sake. Like it's meant to be worn. You loved it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same thing here. Like you can't just sit and wait for. I mean, obviously, don't be dumb.
Yes.
And you have to like make sure you're considering your all areas and you know,
like financial and like just make sure that everything's in a row.
Yes.
But I think even if it's in a row, it doesn't have to be in a straight line.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh
like,
yeah.
We can have the little pieces here.
Well, and you can have questions still, and you're like, I don't know how this financial piece is going to work out, but I know that we're going to, you know, do X, Y, and Z to make sure that it does line up with this.
And we get to that point.
And I think that's the biggest thing because that is something that maybe is bad that I don't shy away from, but I don't have the fear of jumping in.
Yeah.
You learn from it, but I mean, look at the people who are successful entrepreneurs. A lot of them failed in a lot of their first endeavors even, but you have to take a chance on yourself, on your passion and your skills. And you have to take a chance on the people around you, like on your community and your elected. And I just think those are probably my two most network and take the jump.
I think those are phenomenal. And I would just add to, not even so much as advice, but just remember, and I've said this quote a lot, but it really is like, I feel like my whole mantra now, you know, is that it says something about my personality is little bits of every person I've ever known.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, 100%. I am who I am today because of my last 40 years, right? And I'm even different today than I was 10 years ago, even in my job of like, or even like in my ability to talk to people the way that I do, right? Like I've always learned, and I feel like at an early age, about interviewing and about talking to people and all of that, right out of high school and college and stuff. And I just, like, it's just literally made me who I am, but it's because of all the other people too that have also given me advice. And, again, little bits and pieces of every single person I've ever loved.
Well, and experiences. Like Erin and I often talk about, like, we kind of hate the question, if you could go back and change one thing that, like, you did or that happened in our relationship, what would you go back and change? And Erin and I, like, we had some rocky crap when we were dating, like, and it was not fun and it was not easy. And a lot of people didn't think that we should end up together. Like, a lot of people were like, you are crazy.
Yeah.
And
which also, who cares?
Exactly. And Erin and I fought for it and pushed for it and did it. And even though that, like, those times and other times in my life, like, you either make mistakes and you wish that you didn't make that mistake because it was hard to go through and a hard lesson or just different experiences, I still would never change any of them because I would have had to learn it in another way. And I did learn from it. And so I'd rather take what I learned in that moment and be like, yeah, freaking suck. Like that was crap.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Fun.
Well, I will keep everyone updated then on the pod once you have your baby and like what it is, because that's exciting.
Yeah, we're excited.
Because I think your episode will come out like in 2 weeks.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, like so right there.
Like right before. I know.
Before baby.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Okay, well, you're the best. I think.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. All right.